So guys, today I'll be showing you how to make house in the same style that Mau P and Acraze have been doing recently. This style uses a lot of uh, portamento and a bass line that kind of just rolls around. I'll be showing you how to make the drums and how to basically get the whole project started. So let's dive right into it. So here we have the project. First, I'm gonna be showing you guys what the drums sound like. Then I'll be showing you guys the bass line, then certain different steps and sounds that I added just to make the song sound more interesting. And finally, just what the whole project sounds like. So let's start listening to the drum. The first thing we got to keep in mind here is that for this type of track, you want to have the drums be as minimal as possible. So I'm not using a lot of perks here. I'm not using a lot of top loops either. I just literally have one. Basically, try to make the drums just have like the simple house groove, just the hi hats on the off beats and then the claps on every other beat. Where this top loop is more like a texture that just gives a little more groove. But yeah, let's start seeing what's happening here. So first, just obviously have the hat. Now I also added a close hat on top just with a little different pattern. It's a couple syncopated hits. That way it just gives a little more groove. So let's see what that sounds like. And on top of that, I added one open hat at the end of every bar. So that way it just gives a little, it just lets you know when the bar is gonna end. So now we add the claps. Now, as you can see, I'm layering a lot of these sounds. I think that layering helps you, especially in the mixing process, because you can make one of the sounds more stereo, the other one more mono. You can create a different sound out of combining these two sounds. I also try to sometimes play with the. I didn't do it in this case, but sometimes I'll play like take out the tail of this clap and maybe leave the tail of the other one, stuff like that. Maybe one of the hats has more attack than the other one. Um, but yeah, layering the sounds, I feel like it makes the mix sound a lot thicker um, without messing up the dynamics in my experience at least. And to finish off the drums, I added this texture that I was talking about. So on its own, it sounds like this. If we add it to all the drums, something like this. As you can see, I try to keep the level of these textures really low, so that way they're just like in the background. When someone who doesn't have a trained ear is listening to this track, they probably won't even know that this is there, but it just helps fill out that space. Now with the kick, this is the whole groove. Okay, the reason I start with the drums is because once you have that solid foundation, that's when I like to start working on the bass line. That's when I think that the bass line comes in, and then you can get creative with it. So first, I'm gonna play I'll keep the automations, but I'll just show you what the bass line sounds like without anything else. So I wanted something really bouncy, something that, like I said before, has a lot of portamento. Then I'm gonna add the drums back in and show you guys what it sounds like with the drums. So this is what it sounds like with the drums. Now the problem sometimes in houses, like taking this 16 bar loop and then just kind of taking elements out, bringing the elements in back in throughout the arrangement. So in order to make it sound more interesting and bring the track to life, it's important to add automations, especially to your lead sound. So in this track, the most important element is the bass line. So I try to make it move within the song, so that way it's not just like the same sound the whole time. So this is some automations that I had, and I'll show you guys in the oscillator what the bass line is doing. So see automatic resonance. Yeah, it's important to keep those automations up, and especially here you can see that I keep the resonance high at the beginning of this because this is where the drop starts. and then throughout the rest of the bars is different. So each section will also have its own automations. Yeah, that would be the baseline with the drums. Now, I also like to add certain sounds to make, the drums sound more interesting. So a sound that I always like is a sustained stab, and this is a little bit of what it sounds like. That way, when the build up happens, you take elements out, the tension is building, and then the drop hits. You want something massive to hit. So um, I think an important thing for the stab though is to sidechain it, because I already have the resonance coming up in this bass line. Now I should turn it down a little bit. You already have the bass line doing a lot. We have all the drums coming in, and I'll show you later on. There's some effects coming in as well. If you don't try to sidechain and process a little bit of your stabs, so that way they duck out of everything else, then the mix is just gonna sound muddy. So this is what it sounds like. Now on top of that, I also had some synths that I'll scroll through sample packs and find sounds that I like, that I think just would fit well in the track. So this is what it sounds like on its own. So and then I just added it to everything. And oh yeah, and I also added this little synth that I found on the sample pack as well. Sometimes you're just scrolling through packs and you'll find sounds that you like, and you just try to find a way to fit it creatively into your track. So yeah, I have those two synths that come in there, and I also found this one right here that I thought was fitting well with the transitions. So
check it out. This is how we gonna do it.
This is the vocal sample. But yeah, so that would be the drop. So let's talk about the build up and what elements I added there. So this whole idea, this whole track came to life because I found this sample. And I decided to build the whole track around it. So that then I recreated the bass line with that sound, and then I also made this lead sound based off that sound. So this is what it sounds like. Now, combined with everything else I showed you earlier, I added this texture on top just to, like, in the build up that tension. It's little things. It's very subtle in the mix, but just adds a little texture. So added with some effects, some white noise. I like to create that flow. It lets you know when a section is gonna end, when the next section starting. And obviously for the drops, I like to have. I always like to have a delay clap, snare roll, and also I like to add subtle, um, some subtle samples like this. It just gives some groove to it. A little bit of a white noise.
Check it out. This is how we gonna do it.
So yeah. The other thing that you might have heard already there is the vocal. So in house, obviously, house artists are known for keeping their tracks very minimal. There's not a lot of lyrics to it. So obviously, it's very focused on sound design, keeping the sounds interesting. But I like to add this type of sounds like right before a session ends. That way, it gives people something to think about, and may make it easier to name your track. So I found this sample that I thought sounded good.
Check it out. This is how we gonna do it.
And I added it right before the drop.
I'm a new paper. Check it out. This is how we gonna do it.
So the next thing is just bringing everything in together and just filling out the space. So We'll bring in some fills at the end of every section. Just kind of like wrapping up that tension from the build-up, or wrapping up the tension from a certain section, and adding different automation. So, for instance, I added this EQ on the sample. That way, it just like slowly switches back up during the breakdown. So let's see what that sounds like. And then you just layer the sound. So I brought the lead back in, and then combine it with the sample.
Check it out, this how we gon' do it.
So yeah, that's a quick breakdown of how I made this track in the style of what Acraze and Mau P are making recently, having those groovy bass lines that just kind of portamento off each other, very minimal drums, and just focusing on the groove, focusing on one lead element, and then everything else just complementing that. If there's anything in particular that you would like to learn more about from this video, just let me know in the comments, and then yeah, see you next time.